Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our beloved speaker for today, His Grace MEDHAVI Prabhu, a beloved disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And it is our greatest honor to have your divine association with us today, Prabhuji, our beloved uncle. Today, I'm sure is the first day His Grace will be speaking on our platform, Hare Krishna Africa. And we are very grateful to have your association. I was trying to explain how we hold Srimad Bhagavatam Katha here. Srila Prabhupada has already chanted the Jaya Radha Madhava. Some devotees also do like to chant the Jaya Radha Madhava. And if you choose to do that, you may want to chant. Otherwise, we just go by Srila Prabhupada's. And then we put the verse on the screen. In today's case, there are two verses. We'll put them on the screen, and then you start speaking it just like a temple room setting. Oftentimes, devotees do not repeat the slokas because it creates echo. And if you also choose to want devotees to repeat after you, we can also do that. We're quite flexible and liberal. And then you speak as much and as long as you are inspired to. And after that, devotees may ask questions, or maybe shares contributions if you allow that. It is your class, so you run it the way you want it to go. So without further ado, we may end it here, and then you begin by probably chanting the invocation mantras, and then we'll put the verses on the screen. Again, thank you so much for accepting to be with us today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for Hare Krishna. So I don't think there's any requirement for repeating Srila Prabhupada's Jaya Madhava. That's already perfection. But we can respond by singing Prabhupada's pranam mantras and Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Hare Krishna just for a minute or so. So the devotees can join. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Tale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vastaja Desata. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Jai. Thanks, devotees, for joining us today. Thank you to Sadeh Prabhu for inviting us. I'd like to offer my respects to all. Anchakalpach Vishcha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we're on Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 14, Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. We're on text 37. So you can repeat along if you like. Hopefully there won't be any echo. Otherwise, we'll just recite it 3 times, and then we'll go into repeating the synonyms and word meanings. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadi Yasya Ton Bayadi Tarjas Jyoteshu Vigyasarat Tene Brahmavidaya Adhikavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Varimridam Yata Vinamayo Yachachi Sargomesha Dangna Svaina Sada Dharmastakul Kam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vejam Vastavamatra Vastasivadam Tapon Trayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parar Ishvara Sadyo Virutate Trakriti Shishubis Takshana. Hare Krishna. So the verse, text 37, Maitre Uvacha Swasargasya Shisam Lokyam Ashashanam Pravipatim Nivrita Sanjaniyamo Bharyam Aha Prajapati Maitre Uvacha Sasargasya Shisham Lokyam Asasanam Pravepatim Nirita Sanjaniyamo Bharyam Aha Prajapati Maitreya Vacha Sasargasya Shisham Lokyam Asasanam Pravepatim Nivrita Sanjaniyamo Bharyam Aha Prajapati. Devotees like to repeat Maitreya Uvacha. The great sage Maitreya said, Sargasya, of her own children, Ashisham, welfare, Lokyam, in the world, Asashanam, desiring, Pravepatim, while trembling, Nivrita, averted from, Sanya Niyamaha, the rules and regulations of evening, Bharyam, unto the wife, said, Prajapati, the progenitor. Translation. Maitreya said, the great sage Kashyapa thus addressed his wife, who was trembling because of fear that her husband was offended. She understood that he had been dissuaded from his daily duties of offering evening prayers, yet she desired the welfare of her children in the world. So I'll repeat that again. Maitreya said, the great sage Kashyapa thus addressed his wife, who was trembling because of fear that her husband was offended. She understood that he had been dissuaded from his daily duties of offering evening prayers, yet she desired the welfare of her children in the world. So there's no purport. So we'll go straight to the next verse. Generally, we don't comment, not all devotees, but generally, we don't make comments if Srila Prabhupada hasn't done so himself. Text number 38. Kasyapa uvacha apayat yad atmanaste doshan mohur tikat uta mandishe atikarena charena devanam chatihelanat. Kasyapa uvacha, the learned Brahmin Kashyapa said, apayat yat, because of the pollution, atmana, of the mind, te, your, doshat, because of defilement, mohurtikat, in terms of the moment, uta, also, mat, my, nidesha, direction, aticharena, being too neglectful, devanam, of the demigods, cha, also, atihelanat, being too apathetic. Translation. The learned Kashyapa said, because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious. Repeat again. The learned Kashyapa said, because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The conditions for having good progeny in society are that the husband should be disciplined in religious and regulative principles, and the wife should be faithful to the husband. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 11, it is said that sexual intercourse, according to religious principles, is a representation of Krishna consciousness. Before engaging in sexual intercourse, both the husband and wife must consider their mental condition, the particular time, the husband's direction, and obedience to the demigods. According to Vedic society, there is a suitable, auspicious time for sex life, which is called the time for Garbhadana. Diti neglected all the principles of scriptural injunction, and although she was very anxious for auspicious children, she was informed that her children would not be worthy to be the sons of a Brahmana. There is a clear indication herein that a Brahman's son is not always a Brahmana. Personalities like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu were actually born of Brahmanas, but they were not accepted as Brahmanas because their fathers did not follow the regulative principles for their birth. Such children are called demons or Rakshasas. There were only one or two Rakshasas in the previous ages due to negligence of the disciplinary methods. But during the age of Kali, there's no discipline in sex life. How then can one expect good children? Certainly, unwanted children cannot be a source of happiness in society. But through the Krishna conscious movement, they can be raised to the human standard by chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the unique contribution of Lord Chaitanya to human society. Learned Kashyapa said, because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious. Om Jnana Tamrandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gurim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinatarnam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Bitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishikams Vitams Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kopachubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Bol. So this is a very interesting part of the Bhagavatam, and I don't know if devotees have seen the Maha-Avatar Nrsingadev movie, but it's interesting how the beginning scenes are displaying or discussing this very point of how Diti convinced her husband against his will to give her a child, unfortunately at an inauspicious time. So we know that Prajapati Daksha had handed over 13 of his daughters to Kashyapa Muni, and all of them had children. All of them had children. So she was feeling somewhat, how you say, denigrated because she didn't have a child. So she was expecting. So if we look at it accordingly, we might think that, well, it was bad management on the part of Kashyapa Muni, because why didn't he arrange for her to also have children? So anyway, it's all part of the Lord. We have, at various points, we come to the point that it's all part of the Lord's pastimes. It's all part of the Lord's pastimes, so that Jai and Vijay, who are actually very intimate servants of Lord Narayan and Vaikuntha, could take the position of serving the Lord by becoming his opponents. And the Madhura Kadambini in the third wave is mentioned, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions, that they were, Jai and Vijay, they could appreciate, because of their deep desire to please the Lord, that the Lord actually wanted to fight. But they understood, well, who can fight with the Lord? Otherwise it's not fun. If you're fighting somebody that's just a wimp, there's no fun in fighting somebody who can't compete. So they said, we can compete, but we don't have any animosity to you. So then they prayed to the Lord that you make the arrangement. You make the arrangement that we can become your enemies, so that we can satisfy you by fulfilling your desire your chivalrous desire to fight. So immediately the four Kumaras come along, and they're stopped by Jai and Vijay, and they become angry and they curse them. Actually, when you're reading that section, which you just finished, the four Kumaras didn't know. When Lord Vishnu was speaking, Lord Narayan was speaking to them, they couldn't figure out if the Lord was angry at them or angry at the Jai and Vijay. They couldn't figure it out. They thought that maybe, well, these are the Lord's servants, and we just ended up cursing them. So the Lord couldn't be very happy about that. But then the Lord revealed that actually this was part of his plan. And that even Jai and Vijay had prevented Lakshmi Devi, when she had gone out to satisfy some of her devotees. When she came back, they had obstructed her from coming. So then there's other instances in the pastime. So, and Prabhupada mentions earlier in the chapter, which chapter? This is chapter 12, I believe. Chapter 16, verse 16. He says that Kashyapa did not have sufficient strength to refuse his wife, and he was already inclined to have sexual engagement with her. Prabhupada mentions also in that purport, he was not a strong man. He tried to dissuade her with pacifying words. So that Prabhupada is mentioned there, and the time required was one muhurta. One muhurta, we know that the Brahma muhurta is 1.5 hours before sunrise, so 45 minutes or something. So one would think, of course, in modern understanding, that it would have been possible for Kashyapa Muni to divert his wife, to engage her, or, stall her for a particular time, so that eventually the time for Lord Shiva's and his associates to pass would have gone. We would have thought he would have had that intelligence. But anyway, the basic thing is that Krishna wanted this pastime. He wanted this pastime to take place. So we know from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 33, Tasmat Tvam Uchishta Yashola Bhashva Jitva Shatram Bunksma Rajam Samridham Mayavate Viatam Niyatam Purvam Eva Nimitam Matram Bhavasavi Sachin. So Krishna's telling Arjuna, get up and fight. And conquer your enemies. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachin, can be only an instrument in the fight. So, as Jai and Vijay, being devotees of the Lord, they were the only ones capable of competing with the Lord. So similarly, in every different activity and pastime of the Lord, it involves the Lord's surrendered servants. So we have different instances in the past also where a devotee has to accept a service that appears to be not very glorious. We know from Bhagavad Gita, also the second chapter, verse 34, that one who has been honored, for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. And also in the 12th chapter, there's ninda stuti, defamation and repute. So we have to be tolerant of heat and cold, honor and dishonor, fame and infamy. So sometimes Krishna may put us in a position where we're famous, and then he may put us in a position where we have to be infamous. It's not that we want that one. And generally, we work as hard as we can not to be included in that. But Diti had to be put in this situation, even though she was a devoted lady. We find out in a few verses that Kashyapa commends her because the son of one of her sons, her grandson, will be Prahlad Maharaj, practically the greatest devotee of all time. And he mentions that she's devoted and like that, so many things he mentions. So she wasn't, as bad as is portrayed. And it makes us think, except myself, to think of all the times that very qualified and capable ladies served Srila Prabhupada so wonderfully, but they were denigrated, they were criticized, they were, they were put in the back by so many other personalities who thought that women are naturally unqualified. But we know that Srila Prabhupada was very proud of his ladies. So in many ways, the Bhagavatam, it bashes householders. And of course, like in this particular situation, Diti is criticized as a shameless prostitute. But if we look at all the details, then there's a little bit more to it. We know, actually, we don't want to commit any offense, but Kashyapa, later, right at the very end of the Bhagavatam, he happened to be going in the direction of Maharaj Parikshit, and Takshaka was coming to kill Maharaj Parikshit. And he wanted to show his power to Kashyapa Muni. And so he bit this tree, a palm tree, and it burst into flames. But Kashyapa, by mantras and some ingredients, he was able to bring the palm tree back to life. So then what did Takshaka? Gave him some jewels, a box of jewels. You see the picture, he's going off like that. Of course, it was also the plan of the Lord, but also indicates some other characteristics. So we see that Diti was used as an instrument for the Lord's pastimes. So it's a very interesting pastime. And generally speaking, of course, as younger devotees, we were always thinking. Prabhupada was speaking he was speaking to some ladies and some gentlemen, and Prabhupada was talking about the famous verse by Jamunacharya, who was before he became a devotee, or before he became pure devotee, he was, enjoying life. He was a king's son or something like that. So then when he became self-realized, the poem is there, the verse is there to say, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, then I spit in disgust. And Prabhupada, he told this one devotee, first develop that desire and then spit. He said, don't just go walking and spitting. Every time a lady goes by, you spit. That's why the brahmacharis used to do it in the old days. But anyway, so we have to understand these things carefully. So we have another example, the example of Priyavrata. Priyavrata, he was the son of Swayambhuva Manu, the eldest son. And he had decided to become the disciple of Narada Muni. And he went to the Ganga Madana mountains and he performed all kinds of austerities under the guidance of Narada Muni, the topmost devotee of the Lord. But then when his brother Uttanapad and all of his descendants, down to the Prachetas, had all finished their pastimes in the earthly realm, then Swayambhuva Manu wanted to retire, so they had to get Priyavrata, who was already completely dedicated to the service of Narada Muni, no less. Lord Brahma had to come, because we know this story, that Brahma, his first children were the four Kumaras, and he ordered them to create progeny, and they refused his instruction. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that because they were self-realized and Lord Brahma knew that they were more spiritually realized than he was. Interesting point. So therefore, he didn't force the issue, but he did become upset. He became angry, and therefore Rudra was produced. So even though they had objected, they had disobeyed the instruction of their father, then things were okay. So Priyavrata, now Swayambhuva wants to take sannyas, but there's nobody left to take over the affairs of the universe except Priyavrata. So Brahma, Narada, Swayambhuva Manu, three Mahajans, they go to convince and persuade him that he's got to do this job. He has to do this service for the advancement of the entire cosmos. So it's not like he's, and he wants to do his spiritual duty, which is more important. But because he's been instructed by Lord Brahma, and he's being not directed otherwise by Narada Muni, he knows that this is what he should be doing. So sometimes that happens. But as we see, Priyavrata was able to perform all those duties wonderfully, so much so that his chariot wheels created the 7 islands. Still, he became detached eventually and went back to the spiritual world. So, practically speaking, simply by following the instructions of his gurus and param gurus, then he was successful. So that's an interesting point as well. So sometimes it just comes that way. Sometimes, as we know with Arjuna, he was so successful in defeating everyone at the Battle of Kurukshetra, but then when Krishna left, he wasn't able to protect Krishna's queens. So sometimes Krishna authorizes one, empowers one, the spiritual master empowers one, and sometimes that empowerment may not be there. So we have to pray. And we have to pray to Krishna, you please engage me in your service. And whatever you want me to do, then I shall do that. That is our desire. So there were 4 points that Kashyapa criticized Diti. he criticized that everything was inauspicious because of your mind's pollution, aprati yad atmana, defilement of time, doshan mohortikad, negligence of my directions, nidesha atichirena, and apathy toward the demigods, devanam atihelanat. So those particular difficulties were there. So we know that these difficulties will always be there, but we pray that by becoming more and more sincere in our endeavors to serve the spiritual master and other devotees, that will come to the proper end of our spiritual activities. So again, we have another example of Maharaj Anga in the fourth canto, where his wife Sunita, even though it was all arranged, it was an arranged marriage, but she unfortunately was the daughter of death personified. And their son Vena was very crooked, and Anga became disappointed with Vena's bad character and left home and his kingdom for the forest. So it's an interesting point. We've covered that the bloodline was from Dhruva Maharaj. So the stages wanted to preserve his bloodline. It's the first time we really heard anything in the Bhagavatam about bloodlines. But they churned his right hand, and from that churning ultimately came Prithu. So one of the main points is Adharma Bibhavat Krishna, Pradushansti Kulastriya, Strisu Dustasu Varshnaya, Jayate Varna Kasankara. When irreligion becomes prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt. And from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vishnu, comes unwanted progeny. So the world is full of it. It's all full of unwanted progeny. People don't want. I asked my father. I was in my teenage years, and I was, I had one of my brothers had passed away. Some close relative great uncle had passed away, and so you begin to see that. Well, why am I here? What's the purpose of my existence? Is there a purpose for my existence? So then I went to my father and I said, why did you have me? Why did you have me? He gave me this look like, what kind of crazy kid are you? Meaning that there was no purpose. It was just, it was just the situation and the urge like that. So most people aren't, and this was years ago, almost 75 years ago. But the point is that there is a purpose for existence, and the parents should be thinking, they should be meditating on the purpose for bringing a child into the world. Children don't want to even get married these days. Or if they get married, they don't want any children because they know this world is hell. This world is hell. So in the old days, it was like the children knew it was their responsibility, their duty to their parents to marry and have other children, But nowadays, it's not like that. People wait for years and years, and then they stay together, and then they decide, no, I don't want to get married. And they'll do this 3 or 4 times, even for 5 or 6 years. So it's confused like that these days because people don't understand that the purpose of married life is the responsibility of caring for a wife and bringing good children into the world. So you won't find that anywhere on YouTube or on Netflix or whatever. It's all just this lust and commotion. So that's a problem. So, yeah. So I don't know if I should carry on. but we could stop and ask if there are any questions or comments. What do you think, Sade Prabhu?
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji. I think the time is okay. If devotees may have some questions, reflections, realizations you may want to ask or share, please, as usual, indicate by using the hand emoji, your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your questions or share your reflections. Srimad Prabhu, thank you so much for this beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. Prabhuji, I have one question, and that is you were giving 4 important points in the text we discussed, and one of them was Diti disobeying the instructions or the advice of her husband, Kashyapa. Now, my question is, did Diti have to suffer because she disobeyed the instructions of her husband because he is just the husband, or because he was representing the truth? I mean, Kashyapa was representing the truth. He said what was truth, and Diti disregarded the truth, and therefore she had to suffer. And the reason I'm asking this question is because do we suffer reactions based on someone who is in the position of authority, just because the person is in the position of authority and giving us advice or instructions, and we disobey, we suffer? Or we suffer because, one, the person is an authority and he was also saying the truth. In other words, if the person was not even an authority and presented the truth and we disobeyed, we still have to face consequences. We still have to suffer. Hare Krishna.
That's an interesting question. Well, what we generally have is when we have an authority or someone that's instructing us, and they may not be instructing us properly. They may be instructing, or they may be off the mark, but they're demanding that we do as they please. Now, if we're instructed, in the case of a husband and wife as well, if the husband is in encouraging the wife in some sinful activity, then he has to take it. She doesn't get any, she's just following the instructions of her authority, but he has to take the responsibility for her as well. So that's why it should be that the wife follows the husband. I mean, if the wife can reject her husband because he's not a pure devotee, well, we wouldn't have any wedding, we wouldn't have any marriages. So yeah, but the wife has to follow the husband, and to the degree that the husband is a good and solid devotee, then she gets the results. She gets the benefit. Whereas if he's off the mark, then he has to suffer for her as well. So that's one side of it. The other part is, a devotee is always trying to be humble and submissive. So I was on traveling Sankirtan. I was a Sankirtan leader in the UK, and sometimes a new devotee would come, and we'd be discussing our route for the week or something. And instead of going to Scunthorpe, we'd go to Rotherham. Instead of Rotherham, we could go to Manchester or something like this, and this person would just say, "Well, we must go this way, we must go that way." And then I thought about it, and even though I'm the Sankirtan leader, I'm thinking, what difference does it make, you know? And if we go his way, what difference does it make? It's, if I can just try to put my hand down and say, no, I'm the boss, then, what does that prove? So, yeah. So there's different aspects of it. I mean, if it's an important point and it's a scriptural basis, then definitely we have to follow along. But if it's a gray area, or if it's a situation where it doesn't really matter, then we don't have to be so uptight about it. I don't know if that answers your question, but you can clarify more if you like.
Yes, it does. It does. But like you said, the wife obeying the instructions of the husband, if even it's wrong instruction, the husband will be the one to suffer because he gave the wrong instruction. Now, Prabhuji, of course, the Prabhupada said in the paper that in Kali Yuga, how many people can even perform the Kabbalah and Samskara? So
Yeah.
therefore, it's very rare that you have good children. Now, because particularly we are in this age of Kali, men have abused their position in so many ways. And therefore, lots of the time, women who have faced abuse do not want to be abused again. And therefore, just by following their husband's instructions, when they feel or know that such instruction is going to lead them to some sort of uncharted path, they may refuse. And if they refuse, we're going to say scripturally, the wife is disobeying the husband. But maybe, just maybe, the problem is from experience that this person has with the husband. So that is why I was asking, which is part of the reason why I was asking that should subordinates follow instructions from their superiors simply because it is coming from their superiors, or they follow the instructions of the superiors or authorities because the authorities or superiors were presenting the truth.
Well, it definitely must be the truth. Otherwise, there's no point in following it. This we have in the world wars, like World War II, when after the war was over and the Allies discovered all the concentration camps and extermination camps, and then they took all the Germans that were left and put them on trial. And they were all just saying, well, no, I was just following orders. But that didn't work, because they got executed and all. And as far as like like here in South Africa, we have a big thing with gender violence. And Prabhupada also mentions, and this again was a long time ago. Prabhupada mentioned that women are persecuted by being forced to commit activities that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
They want to do. And men think that, or even devotee men think the woman is 9 times lustier and all like that. But it's not like that, actually. So, the main point for us is that the boy, the man, he has to be self-controlled, and he has to be obedient to his spiritual master. So then he can be a good husband. He can be a good guide. Otherwise, he'll just get entangled, like Kashyapa, basically. Prabhupada said that he couldn't. He actually wanted to have sex with his wife, and therefore he didn't refuse strongly. He was inclined to have sexual enjoyment with her. And then but he was not a strong man. He only tried to dissuade her with pacifying words. So, that's the big point. If you can't control, then the woman can control you by your genitalia. So that just doesn't work. It doesn't work in the material world. And it definitely doesn't work in the spiritual world either. So we have to be good examples, responsible people, and we have to show, our children as well that the proper way of doing things. Otherwise, they'll be confused as well. So again, I don't know if I'm beating around the bush or if it makes some sense.
No. You're not beating about the bush. I mean, like the second explanation you gave actually helps clear some doubts I was having. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Madhavan Prabhu, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribol. I'm just Did you have a question?
Thank you very much.
Madhavan Prabhu, sorry, Madhavan Prabhu, we're having a problem with your connection. So
yes,
you
my
might have to
is that,
turn off your video. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. The situation with Kashyapa Muni, from the practical point of view, a husband has the responsibility to satisfy the wife, especially sexually. And this particular situation, even the wife has to pull his cloth. So, and when situation becomes like that between husband and wife, it is getting to physical. So the best for a man is just to surrender. Otherwise, you might find yourself having physical struggle with a woman, which is an extreme condition. Then secondly, comparing the situation with that of Haridas Thakur, I don't think it's fair enough, because Haridas Thakur was attacked by prostitutes. They are not married. So it could be easier for him to resist the prostitute rather than Kashyapa Muni resisting her wife. And then even the wife also was attacked by Kupi. It wasn't herself. So I like to see the situation more than like Krishna's arrangement, because sometimes Krishna can make you to make a mistake, even so it's a very great. We are talking of a very great personality. So, but if Krishna wants his way, it appears that one makes. I don't know if I'm missing any point.
Madhavan Prabhu, you were breaking up a lot. But MEDHAVI Prabhu, if I heard him a little bit better, because he was breaking up. But what he was asking two things. One is that, especially in this particular age we are in, it will be very difficult for a man to deny the wife if the wife wants to have intimacy with the husband and the husband refuses the woman. It could lead to physical altercation. And if that happens, that is even worse. So he wants to know, like, in our present day life, if there is a situation like that, what do you do? And then secondly, he was also saying that because there had been a comparison of Haridas Thakur to Kashyapa that because Haridas Thakur was a devotee, he was much stronger and could resist the sexual temptation of the prostitute. So he is saying that it might not solve justice making such two comparisons because Kashyapa was duly married to his wife, Diti, whereas Haridas was not married, and he was approached by a prostitute. And in the case of Diti, she was also influenced by Kandarpa. So he wants to find out from you what you have to say in this regard. Madhava Prabhu, I hope I got what you were saying.
Yes, you tried.
Okay.
Thank
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, it's the husband's responsibility to give the wife children. It doesn't say to satisfy her sexual urges while she takes contraceptives. No. The whole idea is that you conceive to have a child. That's the idea. That's why in the Vedic culture, we don't have people that aren't married, that are married, that don't have children. I mean, there may be some chemical imbalances. That's another thing. But the whole idea is to produce children. That's the whole idea. And, in the old days, they would have dozens of children because they were farming the land or whatever like that. And now people don't want to have children because they're expensive. Education is expensive and medical treatment is expensive and all this other stuff. But that's got nothing to do with having children. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So it's not a point of just satisfying some be there, but whether that's the Bhagavad Gita, Puryamanam Achala Pratistam Samudram Apa Pravishanti Tadvat Kamayam Pravishanti Sarve. The Shantam Apnoti Nakama Kami. Shantam, no peace. No peace. Just as the rivers are flowing into the ocean, they're always flowing into the ocean. But the ocean is staying still. It's not coming up over its banks. Of course, now we've got climate change and all that. But the idea is that desires are always entering the mind, just like the rivers are flowing into the ocean. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that a person who tries to satisfy those desires, he's never peaceful. Na shantam apnoti na kama kami. Person who tries to satisfy material desires, he's never satisfied because the desires never end, for one thing. And then you can never finish the end of the variety of material desires, and not one of them will satisfy you. So we have to understand that, the mental desires are always entering into the mind and the heart, and we just have to tolerate them, to let them go. Otherwise, it's a big tangle. It's hell on wheels. So devotees know that, or they understand that, and therefore they don't get involved. Or if unfortunately they have to get involved, then they try to get out of it as soon as possible. So, satisfying by giving children. And that should keep the wife busy, unless the whole idea is just get a nanny and that'll take care of it. No, the idea is that the mother must take care of the children. That's another problem in places like South Africa, where many people do have chars and nannies and nurses and like that. So people aren't directly in control of training their children. It's one thing to do your best to bring a child into the world as best you can, but it's another thing to train them. It's another thing to train. They have to be trained. It's not just a matter of Garbhadana Samskar or whatever that is. I mean, for us, it was chant 50 rounds a day, but maybe there's more. I've never really investigated in the Manusamhita or anywhere else to find out what it meant. But the thing is they have to be trained as well. There has to be training. And if you're sending them to the best school in the land, it's usually the worst school, because the kids in these wealthy families, they've learned all the bad things early in life. So we have to take the responsibility of counteracting whatever evil they picked up in their so-called educational system, and we have to take the time to set them right when they come home. So that's a very difficult thing, but the parents have to be convinced that it's the most important thing. That it's better to have a good and godly child than a doctor, lawyer, and engineer. Not that they can't do both, but the parents should be sure that their children will have the opportunity to become successful in this life. So, and again, it depends on self-control. It's always there, and tolerating mental desires. They're always there too, but we have to tolerate, and that's the only way that a person can achieve peace. And we have to chant, and we have to, worship. Every householder should have a deity, some deities. We have Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra here on our altar. So we worship them every day, and then we have a Tulsi Devi like that. So try to keep your program, whatever is happening in your life. Prepare yourself first thing in the morning for a spiritual power, some spiritual understanding where you can meet the day without being overwhelmed by Maya, because that's what she's there to do. And we must have good association. That's very important. So whatever devotee, in the Upadeshamrita, it says, Krishneti yasya diritam manasajriyeta, that a person who's chanting Krishna's name, you should offer them respect. Dikshasti chet pranatabish, a person who's taken initiation, you should offer respectful obeisances. And that devotee who's completely free, who's completely engaged in devotion, and who's completely free from the desire to criticize others, that person you should worship and faithfully serve. So any devotee is good association. So we have to see that and take advantage. Otherwise, Maya's just around the corner. Hare Krishna. So I hope that helped. I don't know. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I see one hand up, but I'm sorry, I have a follow-up question to the answer you just gave.
Okay.
I personally do not doubt for a moment the importance of training, especially like parents training their children. Now, here is the problem, though, that we have lots of sayings in our world, and lots of these sayings tell us what is possible and what is quite impossible. That is, one can force the horse to the riverside, but one cannot make the horse drink the water. So the scriptures say that if a parent cannot deliver his children, he should not have children. If the guru cannot deliver his disciples, he should not become a guru. But the guru will only give all the necessary tools for the disciple to apply the tools in his devotional service. And if the disciple chooses not to use the tools, then what can the spiritual master do? If the parent is doing anything, everything to help train the child to become Krishna conscious, And the child also has his own way. And the child also goes wayward. Does the father become responsible for the loss of the child? Does the spiritual master become responsible for not liberating the disciple? So these are some of my concerns when the scriptures speak out in that general way that if you cannot do this, don't become this. As if just by becoming that, automatically you can make this happen, that happen, when we know that is not the case. So what do we do in such a situation when we did all we could and still our good wasn't good enough, or our best wasn't good enough, I should say.
Yeah. Well, it's a fact that, we think they're our children, but they're particular living entities. So we can only do the best we can. And then that you set the boat in the right direction, and then where it goes after that, you really don't have any control. So there are examples. As you were speaking, I was thinking of Judd Barrett. Judd Barrett, he became the deer, and then he died, and he became another deer, and then he died. He became the son of a Brahmana. You know the story, where his dutiful father was trying to teach him all the Vedic prescriptions. He was trying to teach him, when you pass, then you take a shower. So he was taking the shower and then he would go pass. So then it was all backwards. And he was doing it deliberately, even though his father really had the desire to train his son properly. Judd Barrett was frustrating him at every point because he didn't want to become big Brahmana. So that in society, he just wanted to be he just wanted to concentrate on his spiritual understanding. So we have that example. I mean, the best we can do is the best we can do.
Yeah.
And, we shouldn't be satisfied that we've done our best, but we should try to give our children the best we can. And it's always a big problem. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, we know, said if he could have a pure devotee child, he would have sex life 100 times. So, it's a big thing, but still the training, whatever business we can do, then we should attempt.
Yeah.
And it's something that we have to do now, because used to be in the temples were all brahmacharis and a few householders and all, but now all the devotees are outside. They're outside in the congregation. So we have to show them what Prabhupada gave. I mean, we're still like first, second generation. What's to say when ISKCON is, hundreds and hundreds of years old? But the teachings are still there. Prabhupada has given this point about the guru and disciple also. Interestingly, I don't know if you knew His Holiness Bhakti True Maharaj, but he was saying, and it's a very good point, and we'll go on more than long, but the point was that in some sampradayas, the founder acharya is the deliverer guru, and the other gurus in the line are just benefactors, which means what they do is they bring qualified candidates to the deliverer guru, and he's the real guru. And he gave the example of Narottam Das. Narottam Das had a vision, and he was saying how his spiritual master, Lokanath Swami, was standing behind Rupa Goswami before Radha and Krishna. And Srimati Radharani asked Rupa Goswami, who's Rupa Manjari, who's that Manjari behind you? And he said, well, Manjuwali has brought. Manjuwali was Lokanath Goswami's gopi position. So even though Lokanath was Narottam's guru, it was Rupa Goswami, who's our founder Acharya of Vaishnavism, who was introducing them to Radha and Krishna. So he was making the point that Srila Prabhupada is our founder Acharya. And if we bring people, qualified people, sincere people, then we connect them to Srila Prabhupada. So he was saying it takes a moderate degree of spiritual advancement. Whereas a lot of times we're fighting that this guru is more advanced and his disciples are thinking that anybody else who's taken initiation from any but my guru has made a big mistake. And therefore they should give up their guru and take initiation from my guru. Now, what is the effect? ISKCON is in pieces. It's never become unified. And it never will, practically speaking, what Mars was saying, because Prabhupada's not in the center. It's not in the center. And this thing, even though different gurus may not like it, they may think it will go away, it won't go away. It won't go away as long as people are making a distinction between this guru and that guru. Our guru is Prabhupada. He's our preeminent Shiksha guru. All of his instructions are in his books. I mean, I have, anyway, I won't say it, but we have Prabhupada's instructions, Prabhupada's guidance. Everyone does for the next 10,000 years. So, we have to take advantage of them, and we have to encourage others as well. If they don't want to do that, what can we do? We give people a book, they have to read it. They don't read it, what can we do? So we just want to find those people who are at present able to accept the mercy that Prabhupada has brought. Sorry, Prabhu. Is there anything else?
Wow. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I really love this. I think there was a hand up. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Hansadita Prabhu. Are you still here? Do you have something to ask or share?
Yes, Your Grace. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Your Grace, kindly accept my spiritual obeisances. All glory to the Guru Srila Prabhupada and all glory to wonderful assembled devotees. Thank you for the wonderful class and be with us today. Maharaj, Grace, my question is about the story of Kashyapa and Diti. With my little intelligence of mind, I'm neophyte, I'm still learning. But I still see Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu as not the demons. And at the same time, Deti and Kashyapa Muni, if they did not did what they did, how will this pastime of Krishna will come?
Yes.
How will it appear? Because Krishna wants us to do that, and Vijaya Magai took that position to help him to play this Leela. So
Yes.
it's something which is supposed to happen. And at the same time, like His Grace Madhava said, if Kashyapa Muni compared to Haridas Thakur, sometimes it's very difficult for me to understand that, because this one is prostitute and this one, they are married and they are living together.
Yeah.
And at the same time, my second question is that when Diti requested Kashyapa Muni, he persuaded him with words and everything. But I see more like Diti is more accused. Accused than Kashyapa Muni. But he can choose to say, no, I don't want to do it. And if we look at other scriptures and this material worlds, if the two people commit adultery, man and woman, always the woman is accused. Like what happened to Mary Magdalene? He was about to stone to death
No, it
because
wasn't Mary. It wasn't Mary Magdalene. It was some other lady. But true, you're true. Because then
so
they wanted Jesus to get in on it. And Jesus said, let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
yes.
So then it's an interesting part of the Bible because gradually everybody left. And then the lady turns to Jesus and says, Master, what do I do? And Jesus says, go and sin no more.
No more, yes.
Go and sin no. So they leave that part out. But the practical
Uh,
instruction is go and sin no more. So people don't, just like ourselves when we take initiation, the whole idea is don't sin anymore. Then your sins are forgiven. But if you're going to continue sinning, then you get your sins back quite easily. Prabhupada was asked the one time, it was the early days, and one devotee asked Prabhupada, he said, it was just the next day after one of the first or second initiation. And this devotee asked one of the early was, Prabhupada, does it actually mean that after initiation, that the disciples' karma is completely removed? And Prabhupada shut back and says, only if the disciple is sold out to the guru. What does that mean, sold out? It means life and soul. So how many of us are like that? How many? Then the guru will take. If not, then we're just living in the same dream that the Christians are, that Jesus will accept all my sins and I can do what the hell I like. So that's not true. That's not true. Jesus isn't stupid.
okay.
And neither is the Acharya. So, yeah. So it's true that I also understand that same thing, that Diti gets the bad end of the stick, but it's not true. But it was Krishna's Leela, and therefore she took that responsibility for being discredited or embarrassed, just so Krishna could perform his pastime. So the devotee doesn't mind.
Yeah.
Krishna wants to do this. He can trample me. He can glorify me. He can embrace me. Can trample me under his feet. Whatever he wants, fine. So in that way, she's practically even a better devotee because it was Krishna's arrangement. Like we were talking about Arjuna, for one who's been honored, dishonor is worse than death. So she was one of the wives of one of the Prajapatis, practically. And then she gets the bad end of the stick. But she, as we'll read in a couple of verses how Kashyapa glorifies her, how he glorifies her, and because of that, she receives Prahlad as her grandson. Anyway, it's an interesting pastime, really.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Because I'm beginning to feel glorify them for sacrificing themselves so that we can have Narasimha Dev. So that when we are in difficulties, we pray to him to protect us. Because if they did not, so me, I don't know, but I don't see them as they did something bad. But I think that they sacrificed themselves to help us to have Narasimha Dev. So thank you so much.
Where are you?
I'm in New Brindaban, West Virginia.
Oh, wow, long way.
Yes.
Haribo.
Yes, I'm
So
driving. That's why I didn't put my camera. So
no, it wasn't
I
good
don't want to be
reason
more
for everybody.
distracted.
Well, I'm from Memphis in Tennessee originally. So
Oh,
I've been serving in South Africa for 35 years. But anyway, yes, we've been to New Vrindavan a few times. We saw Prabhupada there in 1974. But anyway,
it's a wonderful place.
Hare Krishna. Well,
Hare
enjoy
Krishna.
your day. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you so much. Hamsadita Prabhu, thank you so much for your question. It seems Govinda Prabhu has his hand up. Govinda Prabhu, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Sadhu Prabhu. And thank you very much, Maharaj. My respectful obeisances to your lotus feet. All glories to you and all glories to your service to Srila Prabhupada and your service to the devotees. Thank you so much. And thank you for this wonderful presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Well, I'm sure
We
there
wish to, we pray to have you here again and again to give us your loving association. Thank you so much. I have so many questions. I don't know which one to start with. I have so many questions, but I'll make it very brief. The first question is, we're talking of guru and disciples relationship. Some disciples, they take gurus and they drop this guru because of, they've heard this and that, and they drop the guru and pick this guru. As there's so much chaos in our movements. But my question is that, when we look at the Guru Vandanam prayers, the last stanza of Guru Vandanam prayers, Janme Janme Prabhu say, and that is, the Guru is my Lord, birth after birth. And so, when we take initiation from a Guru, we have that eternal bond of relationship.
Yeah.
And Guru, it is the duty of a disciple to be surrendered to the Guru, and it's the duty of a Guru to make sure that that disciple is has attained perfection or go back home, back to Godhead. And so if the disciple is not unable to attain the perfection in his particular lifetime, then it is the duty of the Guru to again come back for the disciple or arrange for another Guru to bring that particular disciple. And so if we may say that Guru may have so many disciples, but the question in here is that don't you think that the Gurus, they come for a particular source that they have promised to take them back to Godhead? And because, when he comes, by the presence of his appearance, so many souls also try to take advantage. Because I'll be wondering if everybody that comes to the Guru is actual disciple of the Guru, then why is it that so many people come and go away, and only few people stay with that Guru, no matter what the situation or the circumstances may be? I mean, this will be my first question. Does the Guru actually come for a particular source? And then when he comes, other souls also try to take advantage, but because they are not qualified or they don't have the sufficient punya to remain with that Guru, they all disappear. That will be my first question.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, the Guru, and you made the statement that the Guru has to come back or somebody else comes along. I never heard to somebody else. Prabhupada said that if his disciples don't make it back, then he said, because the devotees were serving him so nicely, that he didn't mind coming back for them. Of course, that was these devotees who were distributing books 10, 12 hours a day and all that. But anyway, for some reason, if they couldn't make it back, and he would be glad to come back for them. That's another thing. But when I was put up to possibly become a Diksha Guru, you have to take a course in Mayapur. It's called Being Guru in ISKCON. If you get to that point, they'll want you to take this course. So there were about 30 devotees in the course. It was run by Anuttama Prabhu and a sannyasi. Anyway, so about 30 devotees there. 15 of them were sannyas candidates, and 15 of them were management presidents and regional secretaries like that. So the question was, what do you see in the future as the guru-disciple arrangement in ISKCON? There were 6 groups of 5 devotees, and actually every one of the groups came back with the same response: that a guru should only accept the number of disciples that he can personally train to develop pure love of God and go back home. So that was the thing. Now, Prabhupada accepted so many disciples, and he mentions in Nectar Devotion that in order to increase the movement of Lord Chaitanya, you have to accept disciples. Sometimes you have to accept unqualified disciples. But he mentioned that he did this in order to expand Lord Chaitanya's movement. So there are people, and we have a 1-year waiting list now for disciples who aspire from a particular guru. They have to wait a year, and the guru and the disciple have to examine each other like that. Anyway, whatever. But if a person doesn't understand their responsibility of being a disciple, when I joined, after 3 months, you could get initiation. After 6 months, you could get second initiation. I waited 15 months because I wanted to be sure that I could make that commitment. I didn't want to cheat. I knew Prabhupada was just too good for a useless disciple. So we have to understand how serious. It's more serious than getting married. It's more serious than buying a house. It's more serious than buying a car. It's the most serious thing a person can do, is to accept a guru and really follow his directions. So one time, devotee asked Prabhupada, he said that there are people, they've gotten your books, but they never have a chance for initiation. Prabhupada said, by reading my books, they're being initiated. So in that way, it's happening. They've got the guru, Prabhupada, and they've got the instructions, Prabhupada's books. So that's going on. And then if later on there's the opportunity to take initiation from one of Prabhupada's disciples, then the better. But it's not that people just join the club. And therefore it's dangerous for the disciple and it's dangerous for the guru. So we have to be very sincere and serious. Otherwise, it's a tough road to hoe. I don't know if that answers your question, Prabhu, or enough of it. But
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Maharaj, my second question will be, in the
you
course
must
of
write your questions down. So if I come back, you can shoot them at me again.
Okay, I will ask this one. I will ask this as the last one. Well, this is I'll ask 1 in 2 or 2 in 1 actually. Maharaj, in the course of your lectures, you made mention of asking your father, why did you bring me? What is the purpose of you giving birth to me? And your father could not give any tangible answer.
Yeah.
So, if I should ask you, why do you think that your father have that opportunity to give back to you, for you to become such a staunch disciple of Srila Prabhupada? Do you think your father might have done something great that pleases the Lord, and so the Lord arranged for you to take birth from the offspring of your father?
Well, that's a nice question. Well, my mother, she was a lot more devotional than my father. Not to say my father wasn't, but my mother, I was raised in the Catholic Church, and she had 8 boys, no girls, 8 boys. So we drove her crazy. But her joy in life was to sing in the choir. And every Sunday, every Friday night, they'd have choir practice. And she just made that, even though everything went so difficult for her. 8 kids, no disposable nappies back then. And, they were boys, so we were always fighting and screaming. So, yeah, but to go for glorifying the Lord, choir practice, she was just over the moon. So I think possibly more, but my father also was, interestingly enough, he would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and nobody else I knew got up before 7. But parents and all. But it was like he knew the benefits of early rising. And yeah. So when I joined, he wasn't pleased at all. And whenever I visited him or tried to bring it along to something about self-realization or Christian, he said, he'd stop me. No, I don't believe in that junk. I don't believe in that. He'd use some other obscene word or something like that. But I obviously didn't present things nicely, because after I joined, I didn't communicate with my parents for over 3 years, because I thought, well, this is all nonsense. But then I was instructed by a nice devotee. Her name was Rose Forcash. She was the original founder of Folk, Friends of Lord Krishna. She had gotten Prabhupada's permission to advise devotees to contact their parents, because the parents, they get the benefit of being the producers of devotee children, so don't cause too much pain. Anyway, yeah. So I hope that's okay. That's kind of a loaded question, but yeah. Was that okay? Or is there more to it? Did I miss the point?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very, very much. So, my last question will be, Maharaj, please. We are talking of governance samskara. We know in this age of Kali Yuga, we don't have very qualified brahmanes in chanting mantras. And if the mantra is not chanted properly, instead of bringing auspiciousness, it rather brings inauspiciousness. And sometimes I hear devotees say, Guru Puj. Puj means stool. So if you say Guru Puj, you are addressing something else, not addressing Guru worship. Guru worship is Guru Puja. But the devotees carry short and say Guru Puj. So
Yeah.
that Guru Puj means something else.
Yeah,
And so, but, someone saying like that does not understand, but the meaning is the meaning. And so if you chanted the mantras and the mantras are not chanted properly, instead of invoking a great souls, don't you think that that can also invoke demons? I mean, that is the question. And adding to that question is that does the soul take birth by accident? We appear in a a particular family by accident or by the force or the purity of the parents that drag a soul into a particular family.
Yeah. Well, the first question is, we know the story of Vamanadev, and Vamanadev he was born of Aditi, Kashyapa and Aditi, and he went to the sacrifice of Bali Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj offered to give him a boon, and then he asked for just 3 steps of land. So Bali kind of criticized me, well, I can give you a universe or a planet or something. Why you just want 3 steps of land? So it's a nice verse. He says that the entirety of whatever there is within the 3 worlds cannot satisfy the senses of one whose senses are uncontrolled. So anyway, his spiritual master chastised him because he understood that Vamanadev was Vishnu and he was going to take everything away. Sukracharya. And Sukracharya was, depending on, being taken care of by Bali Maharaj. That was he was that kind of Kula guru. So then he cursed him. He cursed. And eventually Bali gave his donation and he lost everything. He got tied up in everything. So then afterwards, when Lord Narayan sent him to what was the planetary system? Sutala. Then Lord Narayan asked Sukracharya, what was wrong? What was wrong with your disciples' performance? And then Sukracharya, there's a famous verse, mantras, tantras, desha, time, kalhara, desha means place, kala means time, vastuta, procedures and everything. Desha, kalhara, vastuta, sarvam karoti nischidram, anu sankirtanam tava. That there may be mistakes in the chanting of the mantras. There may be mistakes in the performance of the tantras. There may be mistakes with the desha, the time, the place, the situation. But whenever your holy name, your lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes perfect. So we're not into this pujas, well, not pujas, but we're not into yagyas and things like that. We're into chanting Hare Krishna. That's the only thing that ultimately helps, and that purifies everyone. Whether we have, it purifies us, it purifies our children, it purifies our parents, purify everyone. So we just have to grab hold of that and keep on going. And what was your second question again?
He was asking when.
The second question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. The second question was, does the soul appear in a particular family by accident, or the soul appear in a particular family because of the force or the purity of that family? Does the soul choose to appear in a particular family, or the consciousness and the purity of the family attract a particular soul?
Well, that's a big question. There are different places Prabhupada mentions that we get the parents, the mother and father that we deserve, and that the children get the parents that they deserve, and the parents get the child that they deserve. But there is in it, in the 6th chapter, it's explained about the parents, the pious and the wealthy. I forget the verse now, but if a person has performed devotional service previously and is not successful, then they're born into a pious or a well-to-do family like that. That's after performance of significant devotional activity. And then Prabhupada mentions about those families that give birth to pure devotees on a regular basis. Yeah. Yeah. Family of righteous people or family of rich aristocracy. What's the Sanskrit then? Anyway. Yeah. Suchinam Shamatam Gehe. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Varun. Suchi family or a Shumatam, auspicious opulent family. So that's after thousands of years of enjoying on the homely planet. So that may be a special personality, but that's on a higher order. Prabhupada gives the example of his spiritual master and himself, because Prabhupada, his father was a pure devotee. His father was a pure devotee, and that makes him. What's the difference between me and my father and you and your father? Prabhupada's father was a pure devotee, so he trained him to worship the deity and to lead kirtan, and not go to England to be a barrister like that. So yeah, so it's it says in the 6th chapter that yeah, I'm trying to remember the verse I'm supposed to remember. That we're born according to the higher arrangements. Daiva Karmana Daiva. We're born according to our previous karma and the directions of the higher authorities. So that's how we happen to come here.
Yeah.
We want to make it more. And that's why we're preparing for our next life. In the Hindu culture, basically, people know whatever I'm getting in this life, it's from my previous life. And whatever I'm going to get in my next life, I'm preparing for that now. So people in India know that. They understand. Whereas here in the West, they think, well, if I work hard, then I'll get everything. But it's not true, because you get what you have deserved from your previous activities.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if that helps.
Yes, Maharaj, it helps a lot. Thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you. I'll ask my questions next time I see you again.
Okay, write them down.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
All so much, Shri MEDHAVI Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing this depth of love and wisdom with us all.
Well, we hope our words were of some value.
Yeah.
I'm not a very good devotee, but I have a lot of experience. Much not to do. So yeah.
Yes. It's nice to share. It's nice to share some of those experiences with us. So we hope to have your association in the very near future again, more and more. Thank you so much. And we are going to bring this to a close in today's class. Devotees, we thank you all as always for your participation. And His Grace MEDHAVI Prabhu being our uncle and a great uncle to some of us. There was something you said. I'm going to write it down so that by Guru Krishna's grace, when we have your divine association next time, I will ask you that question, because you talked about His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. And I would like to follow up with some statements he made. But before we bring this to a final close, if you may want to give a concluding remark, Prabhuji, you may do that.
All right. There's a question by Anadi Nidanam Prabhu. Can we hear a little bit of his profile? My profile. Anyway, I was raised in America in a devout Catholic family in Memphis, Tennessee. My parents were from Chicago, but my father moved after the war. He moved to Memphis. Chicago was called Little Italy. Everywhere was Italians. And in Memphis, there was no Italians. So my mother really suffered without association there of her relatives. And anyway, and then 8 kids. But anyway, I was raised went to Catholic primary, high school, university. And I was always, like I said, after my brother passed away, I was very inquisitive. Why am I here? What's the purpose? And I read a lot of books and tried out a few different places, went to a monastery and other things. But I couldn't figure out how it was supposed to work. So then I met the devotees, and then they came in a bus to Memphis, and I met the devotees, and then I decided that they answered all my questions. So, and I became interested, and soon afterwards, we weren't encouraged to stay and finish our education or whatever. We were just encouraged to join. So there was no Memphis. There's no temple there now, even no temple in Tennessee practically. So I joined this traveling party. It was Rupanuga Goswami's traveling party in 1974. And then we ended up going to Washington, D.C. And then I went to India for the festival in 1975. I got initiated by Prabhupada at the opening of the Krishna Balaram Temple in Vrindavan, 1975. I stayed in Mayapur for 6 months. I got sent to England. I stayed in England and Ireland for 5 years. And I was sent to South Africa, and I've pretty much been here ever since. So So I'm just one of the fallen souls that Srila Prabhupada mercifully picked up and gave some little service, so that hopefully I've done something for his pleasure. We shall find out. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And Anadinanam Prabhu, thank you so much for that beautiful question. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, I'm sure most of the devotees here know, wrote a book. Talks about Srila Prabhupada's moons. And there are quite a number of moons Srila Prabhupada created. And we're happy to have your humble self being with us today as one of the moons. So our routine ritual we do, dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all, with one love, one heart, one voice, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered uncle, our beloved speaker today, His Grace MEDHAVI Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all today. So please, we all unmute and we all do that. Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
His Grace MEDHAVI Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai.
His Commander Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam class ki Jai. Go.